St. Thomas Aquinas condemned physician-assisted suicide as wrong because it disobeys one's duty to oneself in the natural inclination of self-perpetuation. He believed it injures other people and the community of which the individual is a part. He said that it violates God's authority over life, which is God's gift. This thinking prevailed throughout the Middle Ages and into the Reformation. The general consensus of the next few hundred years was that the contempt and severe disapproval of physician-assisted suicide. In 1828, the first U.S. statute to explicitly outlaw assisted suicide was enacted in New York. The statute stated assisted suicide as furnishing another person with a deadly weapon or poisonous drug, knowing that such person intends to use such weapon or drug in taking his own life. In the 1870s, Samuel Williams, a non-physician, advocated that drugs used to alleviate the pains of terminal illnesses could also be used to intentionally end a patient's life. England, 1935. The Voluntary Euthanasia Society was formed. Its aim was to make it legal for a competent adult suffering unbearably from an incurable illness to receive medical help to die at their own considered and persistent request. In 1946, the Committee of 1776 Physicians for Legalizing Voluntary Euthanasia was formed in New York. This committee was formed with the intent of proposing bills in order to legalize assisted suicide. March 31st, 1976. While at a party, 21-year-old Karen Quinlan fell into an irreversible coma. This occurred after she had ingested both Valium and alcohol. After doctors declared that she was in a persistent vegetative state, her parents went to the courts to have her respirator removed. The courts complied with their request and the respirator was removed. However, instead of dying, Karen began breathing on her own. She lived until 1985 when she died of pneumonia. October 1976. California's Governor Edmund Brown Jr. signed the first California Natural Death Act into law. This made California the first state in the nation to grant terminally ill persons the right to authorize withdrawal of life-sustaining medical treatment when death is believed to be imminent. On May 5, 1980, Pope John Paul II gave his declaration on euthanasia, opposing mercy killing but condoning the increase of pain medicine used for terminally ill patients. He also allowed a patient's refusal of extraordinary means for sustaining life. June 4, 1990. Dr. Jack Kevorkian assisted Janet Adkins in her suicide. This was his first of 130 assisted suicides.
If you were ill, if you had a terminal illness and were in pain, would you take your own life?
If it was unending pain and there was no cure, of course. I'm doing this for me. See, it's my natural right. That's in the Constitution, in the Ninth Amendment, which is ignored. I have a natural right to do whatever I want with my body. Anything. As long as it doesn't affect anybody else or any other property. And I have give permission, myself permission to do it. That's true of anything. I help a patient only with his permission to do what I think is necessary, and it's all laid out in detail to the patient.
In 1993, the Compassion in Dying organization was founded in Washington State. This organization helps counsel the terminally ill. They provide information on how to die without suffering. They also give personal assistance to intentionally hasten death, and they challenge current laws against assisted suicide. November 1994. The Oregon Death with Dignity Act is passed, allowing physician-assisted suicide. This made Oregon the first of 3 United States which currently permit physician-assisted suicide. In 1998, Dr. Kevorkian assisted Thomas Uke in his suicide. 1 year later, in 1999, he was convicted of murder and was sentenced 10 to 25 years in prison. However, he only served 8 of those years and then was released on parole for 2 years. In 1990, Terri Schiavo collapsed in her home. Her heart stopped beating for a few moments, cutting off oxygen to her brain, which resulted in her falling into a vegetative state. In 1998, Terri's husband, Michael Schiavo, decided that to remove her feeding tube would be the best thing for her and what she would have wanted. This started a long legal battle between him and her parents, who disagreed and wanted to keep the tube in. The battle ended in 2005 when the courts ruled in favor of her husband and removed the feeding tube. On March 13, 2005, she passed away 14 days after the tube was removed. November 4th, 2008. Washington State accepted the Washington Death with Dignity Act, becoming the second state to legalize physician-assisted suicide. December 5th, 2008. Montana ruled in favor of an act legalizing physician-assisted suicide. This made them the third state in the U.S. which currently accepts this practice.